they certainly didn't think that heavy drinking was a huge impediment to creativity.
Right. I feel like we missed the boat on that. I mean, we're not part of a generation that does that. We're part of a generation that is just so teetotaling and
I know.
thoroughgoingly boring. You know, the one fact that I've retained about Walter Gropius is that Alma Mahler had an affair with him, and Mahler, I think, took long walks along the Danube with Freud to discuss his despair over this fact. So, I mean, Gropius was clearly doing something. He got the ladies, he wrote, he drank. Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah.
And Tennessee Williams was busy picking up sailors at the local and
Right.
fishermen at the
Oh
local
my
bars and
god.
pubs.
Drinking,
And,
sex, and writing, it all went together.
yeah, it did. I remember, like, I had a slight glimpse of the old days
Yeah.
because way back when I was an intern at the Daily Telegraph on the old Fleet Street, which was a quite it was the model for the novel Scoop,
Scoop.
the Beast, and it was in the same building as that, and the amount of alcohol that the journalists consumed. I remember showing up once because they would roll in around 10 o'clock in the morning, then they would start a very liquid lunch around 11:30 noon, then the lunch would last for like 2 to 3 hours. It was very leisurely, gossip, argument, fun, humor, jokes, whatever. Then they would roll up in the editorial office around maybe 4, and they would have a discussion of what they were gonna write that day in the editorial columns of the Telegraph, because I was an intern on that section. And then afterwards, even then they would go and have another whiskey, another gin, and then they would write. And they'd write it between roughly about 5:30 and 7 p.m. because the deadline was 7:30, and they did this every day, and it was an absolute amazement to me. And I once asked them, "How on earth do you write an editorial when you've had, 5 whiskeys today?" And the answer was, "Oh, my dear boy, I couldn't possibly think of writing an editorial without drinking 5 whiskeys a day." And I don't know, I
Hitchens
don't
was
think
like
they were
the
that
only one.
worse writers.
No, I mean, Hitchens
Hitchens
modeled that life.
Hitchens Hitchens kept that up, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, Hitchens did.
his I wrote to about him once, what I that he was known for both his Spirited Dispatches and his Dispatch of Spirits or something like that. I can't remember how I put it. But, like, in
It's
his
a good
swift
one.
it was his swift Spirited Dispatches and his swift dispatch of spirits. That's what I did. I was very proud of that. I've never been able to do that flippy thing again, but he's the only one.
It's a
Everyone
good
else
one.
I know, thank you. But everyone else I know between 10 and 1, if they're I mean, if they would dare vanish for that long and they're in the business, they're going to the gym. It's so boring by
Oh,
comparison. It's the opposite.
I went from that Fleet Street office to the New Republic, and it was like going to a yuppie gym. It really
Oh,
was in
yeah,
comparison. They were incredibly teetotal. I mean, and very straight laced. And now you go to a newsroom and it's dead quiet.
right.
You notice that too?
Yeah,
All the
nobody's on their
magazines are
phone.
dead quiet. That never used to be.
No one's on
No,
their phone,
or
and
talking to each other.
no, right. No, well, it's some kind of encroachment, but I'm interested in the fact that no one's working the phones anymore, and I think we've lost a lot of that. I mean, whatever habits because we're emailing or because we're tweeting or whatever, that loss of even if it's not embodied contact, like in I think having just the voice in your head matters so much. The interviews are so much better, and also having that kind of life around you in a newsroom. They were joyous places to be. I miss the office. I'm like the only person. I'm a creature of the office, but I don't miss hushed offices. I don't wanna go back to an office where no one talks, where it's monastic.